divinely order everything. And so when you think about the lineup, we had a minister, an elder, and an evangelist. And to me, that just sounded like the setup for a good joke, right? Can't you just hear it? A minister, elder, and evangelist walking into a bar. But that's just me and my little corny ways. I wasn't here on Wednesday, but I heard that the children were instructed to choose good, and there was some lively demonstrations, and we even had salvation to take place, which is always awesome. I rejoice with the angels, the Heavenly Father, for that young soul. Yesterday we learned what revival is and what it means to be called a child of God, and not accepting whatever it is that this world wants to call us. And so today we're going to end it out with a bang. Today we're going to party like it's 1999. So when I was coming up, I'm the Kirk Franklin generation. And I came about, in my teenage years, Kirk Franklin was the new thing. And if y'all remember, if y'all can go back in time, I know y'all don't, but the older ones here, when we were coming up, and Kirk Franklin came out with Stomp, it wasn't really accepted like it is now. Right. It was really, the Christian community really pushed it aside and did not accept it as a gospel genre. One, because they were upset that it was played in the clubs. And people were dancing to quote unquote Christian music in the clubs, and they were upset about that. But what they didn't capture, what they missed in that opportunity was that people that weren't coming to church were hearing a message. Amen. People that would never step their foot inside a church door was hearing inspiration and knowing that, and was told that God loves them and God cares for them. And so they missed out on that opportunity. And when I was in my childhood education years, I always was taught that when you're talking to a younger person, when you approach them in reprimand or when you approach them, you get down on their level. Yeah. And you instruct them. Am I right? Mm-hmm. You get down and you talk them eye to eye. You look them in their face and you let them know that you're coming from a place of care and concern, and that yes, I'm going to instruct you, and I'm going to discipline you, I'm going to correct you, but I'm here. I'm also, because when you stand over top of them, that's intimidation. That's fear. They're not going to receive it. They're not going to accept it. And a lot of you grew up farming and in gardens. Y'all have gardens now. And what do you do when you got that young little plant? You don't take that hoe and just chop those weeds out. What do? You get down on the ground and you pluck that thing out with your hands. You down it in the dirt with it. Because if you chop it out too fast or too harsh, you can ruin the vegetation. So you have to be gentle in your reprimand. Not to say that you don't do it, but just in your approach and how you come about doing it. So now I'm going to get to the reprimand part and talk about the music that's going on now. And I tell my children all the time, y'all music sucks. I'm sorry, it's garbage. Like it is not. There is no soul in it. There is no value to it. It doesn't impart anything into us. But and then little Mike wants to come back to me and he says, "Well, Mom, you grew up with rap music with Tupac and Dre and Biggie Smalls and all that, and listen to that music." So I don't excuse it. It wasn't okay, and I validate that. But we also had other options. We also had artists like Tribe Called Quest and KRS-One and Arrested Development, and they were speaking to us in a positive light, and they were promoting unity, and they were promoting, connections and everything like that. And even the more vulgar, music that wasn't as nice to listen to, it had its purpose because it gave voice to urban communities that didn't really have a voice at that time. And it was speaking to things that were going on in our neighborhoods that nobody knew about, when they talk about 911 as a joke and all of those things, because those things weren't heard of until rap came about and put it in the forefront and told our stories. So again, not to excuse it, but just to give explanation to it. So that's just to say that music is a teaching tool, and it speaks into our spirit. And yes, I do listen to my children's music, just as I said, because I want to know what they're listening to. I want to know what they're exposed to. I gotta know when Drake, why he's so worried about if Kiki loves him. I want to know. I want to know, with Cardi B talking about her signing $1 million contracts, what did she tell him she had to do for that? Well, how did she get to sign a $1 million contract, and what did she have to do to get it, right? I want to know, when young mom talk about the bro code, what is she telling our children? So, because I need to come back and combat that with the truth. I need to combat that with life. I need to combat that with what God says. Because we're not with our children 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We can't, walk around with blinders on and earmuffs on. They're going to be exposed to it. But what we can do is speak truth to life. What we can do is give them the information and arm them with the truth to combat what the enemy is trying to bombard them with. Amen. And so, and we even learned, where my older ones at, Brianna's, Alexis in here, Tabitha, y'all remember even back when Apostle State, we had that CD breaking ceremony. And we brought the CDs in and broke them up here in the front. Y'all remember that? Yeah. Because what did that teach us? That taught us that music is a part of our spirit, and what we are listening to is pouring into us. Amen. And so when you're sad, what do? You pull those sad songs. You know what I'm saying? You got that sad music and you got your tissue and you cry. You know what I'm saying? Because that music is speaking to your spirit. Or when you're happy, you want something upbeat and fast, something you can bump to, something you can tap your foot to. Right? Even in department stores, do you know when you're in the store, that's right, and that music that they're listening to, that you're listening to, that is to encourage you to be happy, so you can spend more money. Like that is the intent. It is psychologically, they know it. It is psychologically proven that music speaks to our souls. And they intentionally play upbeat, happy songs to get us in the mood to spend more money. Like that is a proven fact. So we know that music is a vital part of our spirit. Another lesson that I learned when I was coming up was with the Kirk Franklin era and us talking about that as children. My teacher at the time, when I was a teenager, we were talking about Kirk Franklin and what that does. And she had explained to us that if you take Amazing Grace and put it to a secular tune, it is no longer a gospel song. And I didn't get with that. I didn't accept that as truth. Because it's still the same words. It's still the same speaking to who God is and what he does. And so I came home and I had explained to my mother what the teacher said. So my mother used that as a teachable moment. What she did, she didn't, and here's some lessons that I learned. She didn't badmouth the teacher. She didn't say anything negative about her, what she did. Say, well, let's see what the word says. And that was the moment she taught me to search the scriptures. That was the moment she taught me to arm myself with information. That was the moment that she taught me to learn my truth and to learn and interpret the scriptures for myself. So we did some digging, and we looked into the scriptures to see what it said, and if it either lined up with what she was teaching us, or if we had an alternative interpretation to what what we were instructed. And so, but at no point did she tell me to go back and sass her or talk back, but just to speak truth. Just to speak what I learned, and just to speak, what the actual Bible says, right? And it also taught me that age is not an excuse. If you can read and you can understand what you're reading, it's not an excuse not to know. It's not an excuse to just sit back and say, well, somebody said this, without actually learning for yourself and actually reading and studying. You are old enough to do that. Yes. You have the ability to do it. Anything else you want to learn? My middle son, he loves dogs, and he could tell you he went and did a study on how to train dogs, right? Because that's something he was interested in. So just like that, he wanted to do that. He could take the initiative and open up his Bible and read that as well, and do some studying there. Yeah. Right? And so when we did that, we learned some things. One thing that I found was interesting was that a lot of those hymns that we sing in our Red Bible, they originated from parlor tunes. That was interesting to me. So we accept them now as Christian and gospel, but back then when they were written, that they originated from a non-Christian base, right? Not all of them, but some of them did get their inspiration from parlor tunes, from that, saloons and all of that stuff, and they put Christian words to it. Another thing that I learned in that lesson when my mother was teaching me that the Bible actually lets us know that life is meant to be celebrated in decency and in order, but to be celebrated. Amen. That we can have fun and we can enjoy ourselves and we can celebrate life and celebrate for purposeful intentions, but without the sinful part of it. And we can separate the two. We say this all the time at funerals. Everybody, we always read Ecclesiastes chapter 3 at funerals. And what does verse 4 say? It's a time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to mourn, and a time to what? Dance. Right? So what you doing at a party? You dancing, right? And so there are actually some pretty cool parties in the Bible. In 1 Chronicles 12, they talk about the celebration of King David, right? That party lasted for 3 days. I party as hard as they can, but I ain't never partied for 3 whole days. But in verse 40, it says, and also their relatives from as far as Issachar and Zebulun and Naphtali came bringing food on donkeys and on camels and on mules and on oxen, abundant provisions of flour, cakes of figs, clusters of raisins and wine and oil, oxen and sheep, for there was joy in Israel. That sounds like a good old-fashioned barbecue if you ask me. In Nehemiah 8, you can read, I read this as the best after-church feast ever. After returning from exile in Persia, the Jews assembled in Jerusalem to listen to the word of God from Ezra. And he read the word and he blessed the people. And they wept because the word of God was so good. But Nehemiah told everyone to stop crying and celebrate. In verse 10, he said to them, go your way, eat and drink sweet wine, and send portions to anyone who has nothing ready. For this day is holy to our Lord. And do not be grieved, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. Yes. So they had food, they had wine, and they were passing it around to make sure everyone had some and was celebrating. That sounds like a party to me. In Deuteronomy 14, it talks, there's a big Hebrew mega Thanksgiving party, right? Once a year, the Hebrews were commanded to meet up in a place that God chose for the ultimate celebration. God commanded his people to take a tithe, which we all know is 10%, of all their produce and celebrate, giving thanks. Yes. They were celebrating because God has blessed them and have been so good to them. Yes. And these are just a few. The prodigal son's dad celebrated when his son came home. David danced. And we all know Jesus' first miracle. Yes. What did he do? Turn the water into wine. Right? Yes. So time and time again, God's people celebrated. And the issue is not on how, the issue is on how you celebrate and the manner in which you do it. A lot of the Bible references speak about laughing and dancing, all the elements of a good party. But where we are going wrong is bringing sin to the party. Yes. With the sloppy drunkenness, the sexual activity, the drugs. You know, as you get older, you come to learn that it doesn't take all that to have a good party. That's right. What that is self-destruction. A real party is supposed to have you feeling happy. It's not to leave you baked or wasted and hung over or having to call a doctor because now it hurts to use the bathroom. A real party brings together people to celebrate something really awesome and cool. You can separate the two out. You can enjoy yourself at a party and still represent your Christian moral beliefs and values. You don't have to break who you are. Yes. Now I know, I get it. You know, when I was in middle school, high school, you're impressionable. You don't want to be ostracized. You don't want people to talk about you. But there's a little secret. I don't know, maybe anybody explained to you. But the secret to confidence and the secret to being cool or showing people you got the sauce, like y'all like to say, is really confidence, right? Confidence is the real swag. That's how you know who has the sauce, right? And if you are showing and exuberating your confidence, it'll catch on. People are naturally drawn to leaders. And I see, in this front row, I see leaders in you. I am so excited. Like I've watched some of y'all grow from younger children into y'all teenage years, and I'm going to enjoy some more of y'all growing up. But I'm excited to see what God is going to do for you all, and the places you all want to go, and the things that you're going to do. Because we have an expectation. You all are going to lead us. You all are going to want to keep us moving forward and progressing us into the next chapter. It's up to you all. And so if you're kind of not sure if that leadership skill is in your corner or if that's you, just think about it. When your friends have questions about things, who do they ask? When your friends want to, ask about, do you think this is all right? Or because they value your opinion.
Yes.
They see the leadership skills in you like we do. They may not articulate it. They might not have the intellect to actually consciously say, I see leadership skills in you, because who talks like that, right?
Yeah.
But they recognize that. When that's what they're doing when they're asking you about your opinion and about what would you do and what do I do, because they see leadership in you, just like we do. So we have, you all have the ability to use that leadership to promote God and His kingdom and not be afraid and not be ashamed. Walk in your confidence. Walk in the assurity of who you are and know who you are without any questionable doubt, without any second guessing it, that you are who you are and you are who you were raised to be. Pastor Perry always talks about time out for doing business as usual. And when he first said that up here, I almost jumped out of my seat, because literally that was what propelled me into ministry. Literally, that is what I answered, the call I answered to. Because at first I was a little intimidated, right? I was a little hesitant, because I don't think the way a lot of people think. I don't do things the way people do, but I kind of caught on to the fact that that's not what I'm supposed to do. I'm not supposed to do it the way somebody else does it. I'm not supposed to, talk like somebody else talks. I'm supposed to do it the way Stacy does. And that's what you all are here to do. Do it the way you're intended to do it. Because I literally didn't even want, to be quite honest, I didn't even want the title of evangelist, because it comes with perceptions. And it comes with what people think you should be and who you should act. And I don't know how to live up to your standards. I don't know how to be anything but who God called me to be. And I don't know how to do anything but I'm so opposed to titles, I don't even ask you, the children know, I don't even require them to call me Mrs. or Miss. If they call me Stacy, that doesn't bother me. And I know that that's not an acceptable thing amongst adults to do. They're not, but that doesn't bother me. I am Stacy and I'm okay with that, right? So having a title, if you never call me evangelist anything, I'll be okay. Because the whole point, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do better and be better, right? I have seen so much of things being said and done in the name of Christianity with an appearance of holiness, and our children are not blind, they see us. I can't tell you how many times my kids have called me on my mess. I can't tell you how many times they just even driving home after church, and my kids will tell you, hey mom, you just left church and you talking like that. They're right, like I shouldn't be doing that, right? But I'm never going to pretend that I don't have those faults, and I'm never going to pretend that I'm not a human being and that I mess up. But I will not intentionally do anything to harm anyone. I will not intentionally. Now if I mess up, it's because of my own ignorance. If I mess up, it's because I'm human. But I'm trying to get it right. I'm trying to do better. I'm trying to be better. And I'm trying to, and I'm hoping that the mistakes that I have made and learned from, I can impart something to you all so that you don't go to walk that same walk and don't make those same mistakes, right? And so that's what we're here to do, to show you all something better, to show you all that you can progress further than where we've even gone. When my mother was coming up, it was unheard of for her generation to even go to college. And here I am, not one, but 2 degrees, right? And I'm hoping that my children go further than that, right? And maybe be entrepreneurs or whatever it is that they're called. So, so that's why when, that's where God gave me, we're going to party like it's 1999. When I was young, growing up, and so, I was a little bit of a party girl, if you can imagine that, go figure, right? I wouldn't call myself a cool kid, right? I wouldn't call myself on the in crowd or whatever the term is now. I know I'm not calling it the right thing. But when we had the parties and the home parties and stuff like that, and I would go in and everybody standing on the wall, like I would be the one in the middle of the dance floor all by myself, just dancing, right? And then slowly people would come in, right, and start dancing, because I had a curfew. And it wasn't that I was even trying to be cool. My mama said I had to be home at a certain time, so I was trying to have as much fun as I could the time that I had. So I wasn't trying to win no accolades or trying to impress nobody with how, much I could do. I was trying to have fun because I had to be home in a little bit of time, right? Because my mama didn't play that. So, but what it taught me was that people, again, like I said, they're attracted to your confidence. They came in because somebody else was there and they didn't have to be there by themselves. And so that's what you all can do. You all can be that starter. You all can be that one to initiate a movement and a progress, right? You all can be the one to excel and push us and propel us into the next era, right? And so the whole thing, even coming into Christianity, right? When I first started coming here, and like I just told you, like I was a party girl. I was the one on the dance floor by myself. And then when I came here and I started coming to church, and then I was embarrassed to dance. Like I was embarrassed to give God a praise. And he said, ho, what happened to the party girl? You ain't care back then when you was dancing to the wrong music, but now you in here in my house, you embarrassed? Like who are you? Who was that? And so, but that was my freedom. That was my release to let me know that, he designed who I am. Come on. Right? And so those things that I did on one end can be turned around and used in another fashion. So, excuse me. And so the thing, and I can see where we as a people may push the envelope a little bit. Like we can even in our progression moving forward. Like I saw on the internet, some church, and this is not a judgment, this is just explaining what I saw. They had their baptismal pool and they built a slide over top of it. I don't know if y'all seen that. And like, even for me, as liberal as I am, I would push a little bit. Like I was like, I can't get with that. Right? Like it was a water slide. And they water slide down into the baptismal pool. Now I'm not judging, but I ain't there. You know what I'm saying? I don't see the holiness in that. I don't see how God is, I don't see that. But I'm also not judging because I don't know what God told somebody, right? I don't know who talked to him, but I also know everything that we hear in God. So I'm not making any judgments, but that just kind of threw me off a little bit. Even when I learned about speaking in tongues, because and I do appreciate Pastor Curry and his patience with me because I can come up with some mess. And and when I had explained to him my feeling or what I thought of speaking in tongues, and he, developed a whole Bible study around it, right? And I'm sitting in Bible study and I'm still like, I ain't there yet. But ironically, God has a way of showing us some things, right? Yeah. God has a way of speaking to us because a couple of weeks later, I'm at home and I'm on my computer and I'm looking at, it was graduation time, and people were, showing their graduation ceremonies. And I had seen a lot of people doing dances of different natures, but this one caught my attention. This one lady was doing a praise dance in her graduation. And I was ready to comment and say, go girl, go. Because she was giving God praise. You don't know what she had to go through to get that degree. But she was giving God praise right there on that stage in front of everybody, in front of the auditorium. She stopped and held that line up to give God her praise when she got her diploma. And I go in the comments to say, give my accolades. And then I started reading the comments and they were so negative. Right. Now, on one end, where the other people was doing the circular dances, everybody was hooraying that. Everybody was like, yeah, that's go, brother, that's cool, that's hip, that's okay. But the woman that did the praise dance, ain't nobody got time for that. She holding up the line. I got things I got to do. Let me get my diploma. You holding up the process. And so now instead of me typing a praise, I'm sitting up there getting ready to respond to them. And I got to type in, who are you to judge someone's, and I said PR, and God said, go ahead, finish. Because I was getting ready to say, who are you to judge someone's praise? But guess what I was doing when I approached Pastor Prayer about speaking in tongues? Judge somebody's praise. So he has a way. He will show you, and he will teach you, and he will instruct you, right? But what that taught me is to never judge a way a person gives God a praise.
That's
Right?
Amen.
He's going to instruct you on how he wants you to do it, just like he instructed me and everyone else. Right? It's God's job to do the correcting. It's God's job to do the chastising. Right? Now, we do have some guidance in that process, but the ultimate end is that God is the one that will give the improvement and the correction, right? Now, there are some blatant disrespects, right? But if it's in the gray areas, for interpretations, I tend to leave that off limits. So, many of us have learned that Christianity is to be boring and sitting still and doing nothing. And that kind of went against who I am, right? If you've ever spent more than 5 minutes, I'm loud. I like to have fun. I like to, and I don't do dull. I don't do quiet. Our house is never quiet, right? We're always loud and boisterous. But that showed me, and coming here, and God instructed me that I can be who I am, allowed me to regain my freedom and liberty in Him. And I learned that I don't have to wait till eternity to enjoy this life.
Amen.
Right?
Amen. That's right.
So, back in 1982, when Prince made the song, We're Gonna Party Like It's 1999, which is what I was calling this, Prince had designed that as the end of days, right? Back in 1982, 1999 seemed like it was gonna be the end of the world. Right, because we thought that we didn't know that we could make it into the new millennium. So all of y'all that's born after 2000, we didn't even think y'all would be possible, right? Because we literally thought the world was going to end in 1999. So what Prince said is, we're going to party like it's 1999, like it's the end of the world, because guess what we are? We're at the end of days. And so we need to celebrate and let this world know who our God is. We need to shout as loud as we can who our God is. We need to inform everyone that we're attached to and surrounding us that for God I live and for God I die, and to do it in praise and celebration and worship. So it's Friday night, and what if, y'all don't work, but, typically you work Monday through Friday. Friday night was your night to relax, let your head down, dance a little jig, relax a little bit. And so since it's Friday night, right, and since, we're here, I figured it would be okay if we had a little party, right? Okay. But do it in the right way, right? That if we do it in a fashion that God will not be dishonored, right? So if you can hear that, I don't know if y'all can hear that back there. I've selected a few songs, and I didn't want to do that in here because I didn't want to be disrespectful, right? I didn't want anybody's head to explode. So we have some music in the fellowship hall that we can, if y'all will give us a moment, or y'all are more than welcome to join us. But I'm going to excuse the children for a moment. We're going to have a party. You're more than welcome to join us, or you all can stay here and sing some songs or pray a prayer. But we're going to go have a party. Come on, amen.
Amen.